What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb, and welcome to the Rehab Christian Center Tuesday night, Lord, I was about to say Sunday night virtual life study experience. Pastor took a nap before life study, and I'm a little groggy right now, and so I'm trying to get it together. But it is good to see all of you that are tuned in, and I want you to go ahead and start liking and sharing this video right now. And getting the word out. This is a very powerful series that we've been on called Becoming. And this is week or part 3 of the series, Becoming. And I'm really excited about what we're going to deal with tonight, which is be courageous. So it's going to be powerful. So I want you to start sharing this video now. Start tagging people. Tell them to tune in really quickly. As you know, we only do about 40 minutes max on Bible study, unless we get carried away. We're not going to get carried away tonight. We're going to try to keep the time in mind, but it is good to see you virtually, and certainly grateful that you have tuned in tonight to share with us. Go ahead and start tagging people now. Start liking the video, sharing the video. I want to walk through our channels. We are live on 3 channels tonight. And so I want to walk through the channels really quickly, just to greet everyone. And then I want to get right into life study. I want to talk about be courageous. That's what we're going to deal with tonight. Be courageous. Again, as a part of this Becoming series. And so grateful that you've tuned in to share with us. Facebook, good evening to you. I see some of you already starting to come in the chat area to say good evening. It's good to see you virtually. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this broadcast. If you would do me a favor, if you're on Facebook, I want you to hit that like button. If you really enjoy our ministry, hold that like button down, turn it into a love button. And then I want you to hit that share button, hit that @ symbol, and tag 5 people and tell them to tune in tonight. This is going to be a very nice and powerful word. And I want you to share this broadcast with as many people as you can on your Facebook feed and tell them to tune in. I'm so excited to be here and so grateful that you have tuned in to share with us tonight, Facebook. So again, let's start sharing this video, tagging people. Let's get moving right away. Instagram, good evening to you. By the time Instagram church shows up, it's going to be over because they're always late. But it's good to see you, Instagram. Those of you that are tuned in, do me a favor. If you're on Instagram, fill it up with hearts, hit that @ symbol. And I want you to tag 5 people on your friends list. Tell them to tune in tonight. Again, we are dealing with part 3 of the Becoming series, and we're dealing with be courageous. And it's going to be a powerful message. And so Pastor can just really shake off the cobwebs from this nap. Whew, there it is. Whew, this nap that he just had. And so those 20-minute naps be clutch sometimes. And so Pastor's just trying to shake off the cobwebs. But it's so good to see you, Instagram. Those of you that are tuning in Instagram, let's start tagging people, get them in right away. YouTube, good evening to you. It's good to see you. Those of you that are tuned in via YouTube, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing with us tonight. If you're on YouTube, if you have not liked our YouTube page, make sure you like our YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe to our page at REHABCC. You can go and check us out on YouTube. You can follow all of the previous messages that we've taught, experiences that we've had, particularly those experiences that we've had while being in this virtual or mainly virtual format. You can see all of them there. And then make sure you not only like this feed and subscribe to our page, but go ahead and hit that share button and share this video and share this link to your friends and family through YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in on YouTube. And I am ready to get going. I've got 7:14, and I do not want to waste a lot of time. I've got to teach this message and try to teach it in 35 minutes. But this is a powerful message tonight, and I'm so grateful that you tuned in. All right. Again, I want to remind you, we celebrate 8 years tomorrow. 8 years. Rehab turns 8 years old tomorrow, and I'm so excited about that. And so don't forget, I have challenged all of you. I've challenged all of you, our friends, family, supporters, members. If this ministry has been a blessing to you, Sunday, I want 100 people to sow a $51 seed. On Sunday, we are celebrating 8 years tomorrow. We turn 8 years old tomorrow. And I want to challenge all of you. I want 100 people minimum to sow a $51 seed this Sunday. If this ministry has been a blessing to you, if this ministry has been a blessing to your family, particularly during this COVID environment, which is where so many of our viewers really became aware of our ministry and the things that we do. If this ministry has been a blessing to you, I want to challenge you to turn around and be a blessing on our birthday. We are excited, and I'm just so grateful for all of you. And so don't forget, tomorrow we turn 8 years old. And I want to challenge 100 of you, at least 100 of you, this Sunday to give a $51 seed for our 8-year birthday. And I promise you, God's going to bless you in a tremendous way. And again, just grateful for all of you and your support and your encouragement and how you continue to tune in and be a blessing to us. Well, let's deal with this tonight. We're talking about be courageous. And again, we are continuing this Becoming series, which has been a very powerful series for us, this Becoming series. And so I want to deal with this, and I'm gonna be sprinkling some Bible verses here and there. We don't have a particular set of Bible verses that we're going to come through tonight. Much like the week before last, a lot of this is going to deal with some theory, but it's very important. Remember, the Becoming series is really all about what we talked about 2 weeks ago. All right. Remember, we didn't have life study last week. What we talked about 2 weeks ago, and that is this concept of being whole, right? Once we are whole in the process of becoming or evolving, once we are whole, then we can become things, right? We are whole, then we can become things. We can become courageous. We can become adventurous. We can become healthy. We can become whatever, right? So it starts with being whole first, then branching out to becoming other things. And so tonight, I want to deal with becoming or to become courageous or be courageous. And this is going to be powerful because it's really going to deal with courage from a perspective that probably many of you have never thought of. I want you to remember this. Dr. Kathy Lassiter has what she calls 4 types of courage. And I want to break these 4 types of courage down really quickly. And then I want to connect it to the biblical perspective of courage. And then I want to give you 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage, and I'm done. All right. This is going to be powerful. All right. So Dr. Kathy Lassiter has what she calls 4 types of courage. All right. And this suggests her definitions of courage are interesting because she suggests that, being courageous is not about being a hero or operating in heroism as much as it is being situationally courageous. Right. So she says, in other words, there are 4 types of courage, and you would apply this type of courage for this type of situation, and this type of courage for that type of situation, and that type of courage for that type of situation, and so on. And so, Dr. Kathy Lassiter's, 4 types of courage is an interesting perspective to consider when we think about courage, because again, her courage is not a blanket type of courage as much as it is to say, if you are in this situation, you would apply this type of courage. This situation, you would apply this type of courage. And it's based on just everyday uses of courage. So it's interesting, right? Her 4 types of courage are this. The first type is what she calls moral courage. All right. Moral courage. All right. And this is going to be good. So bear with me. Let me give you this foundation. And we're going to shift gears in a second. All right. So Kathy Lassiter's 4 types of courage. The first type she talks about is what she calls moral courage, which suggests that an individual would operate and utilize courage based on or to the extent of whether or not morals are involved, right? And so if you're in a situation that involves you making a decision that is a moral decision, and the moral decision would require you to do something that is morally positive, and that morally positive decision would require courage, then you're going to use moral courage in order to make a moral decision, right? So her basis on courage as it relates to moral courage is that individuals use courage when they are in moral predicaments, right? And so if you got to stand up to a bully, right? Growing up as a little kid and you were getting bullied, or your friend was getting bullied, and yet stand up to the bully, when you stood up to the bully, you were utilizing what she called moral courage, right? All right. So that's the first type of courage. We understand that. The second type of courage is an interesting one. Is what she calls intellectual courage. All right. It's the second courage that she calls intellectual courage. All right. And intellectual courage is an interesting one in her book because she says that when an individual is faced with a situation where courage makes sense, then they utilize it. All right. So she says when an individual is faced with a situation where courage makes sense, then they utilize courage, right? And I'm a little on the fence with that approach to courage, because I'm not quite sure. Courage is something we intellectualize. And again, I don't want to have a nerd conversation with you tonight. I very well could. This kind of stuff really grinds my gears and gets me excited in a positive way. Gets me really excited. I like having intellectual conversations, but I'm not quite sure courage can be an intellectual thing as much as courage being one of those things where either you have it or you don't, right? And that's my argument, and we'll talk about that later. So she says intellectual courage. If it makes sense to exercise courage, if a situation makes sense to utilize courage, then you do it. If it doesn't make sense, then you don't do it, right? And so for me, intellectual courage introduces the concept of fear. And we're going to talk about courage and fear and the connection between courage and fear in a second. But there are going to be times where courage is not going to be your first option and fear would be your first option. According to intellectual courage, you would then not use it, because if intellectually, if I were to use courage, let's say I hate dogs or something, and there is a pit bull running towards me and I hate dogs, and I were to use intellectual courage, then intellectual courage would tell me, I don't know, take off running, jump up a tree. Intellectual, courage would tell me take off running, jump up a tree, whatever. Right? In other words, get out of the situation. And I'm not quite sure running is courage or use of intellectual courage. And so I'm a little on the fence there, but I get her point. And that is that sometimes people utilize courage to the extent that it makes sense. And that's the larger, looming point that I want to express to all of you, because many of us have been guilty of that. We use courage to the extent that it makes sense, or to the extent that it benefits us. And courage is not one of those things that always feel like when you're in the moment of demonstrating or utilizing courage, it doesn't always feel like your decision is going to benefit you as much as it is you are making a decision to be courageous with the outcome, or the hope that the outcome does benefit you, or that it does benefit greater good, right? So again, I'm on the fence with intellectual courage, but that's our second type of courage. Third type of courage I thought was a good one too. Is what she called disciplined courage. Okay, disciplined courage. So you've got moral courage, you've got intellectual courage, and you've got disciplined courage, right? And disciplined courage is what it sounds like, right? It is courage within the confines of a limit. Okay, now this one, it was funny to me, again, as I said earlier, because I'm not quite sure courage has a limit, and if courage does have a limit, is it really courage? Again, these are poolside conversations. We were having some of these similar types of conversations when I was on my last vacation. These are poolside conversations. And it's a question I would pose if we were at the pool talking. If a person has courage to an extent, do they really have courage? Right? So if your courage has a limit, right? If you say, hey, I'm willing to do whatever up to this point, and then when I get here, I'm not doing it, is that really courage? And my argument would be that disciplined courage, to the extent that it is predicated on a limit, is not courage. And this is the easiest example I can give to you. If my kids are in danger, right? If my kids are in danger, and the only way to get them out is to act, and that acting would cost me anything from getting burned, getting hit by a car, up to dying, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my kids. That to me is not disciplined courage. That's just courage, right? She suggests that disciplined courage is in essence almost courage to a limit, right? Or courage with a boundary. And again, yes, I know people operate in courage that way, but the greater challenge that I want to challenge to all of you is this: is that really courage when your courage has limits, when your courage has boundaries, when your courage has, only extents that it goes to? Now, I hear some of you, well, Pastor, maybe I don't have it in me to be able to give up my life for my kids. I don't have it in me to be able to go that far to do whatever or to do whatever. I hear you. And I empathize with you in what you're saying. But again, given this definition, I'm not quite sure we call that courage, because in my book, courage has no limits. It's one of those either you is or you ain't type of situation. Either you not scared or you scared, right? It ain't no I'm kind of scared. Like, it's kind of like if you kind of scared, then you all the way scared, right? Now, you gotta be careful, because I can in many ways be completely to the extreme, right? Sometimes it's really black and white with me. And that's something that I'm working on. Like, it ain't much middle ground. It's either this or it's that. It ain't a little bit of this and a little bit of that, right? And so I do realize I can be a little bit of black and white, or a little black and white sometimes. But I think courage very much is one of those things that's very black or white, right? When you say you got courage, but your courage has a limit, or it's disciplined within a parameter or border, I'm not quite sure that's all the way courage. All right. So she calls that third type of courage disciplined courage. Right. And then the fourth type she calls empathetic courage. Right. Empathetic courage. And again, that type of courage, just like somebody said in the comments, you can't be a little bit pregnant. Bingo. It's the same thing. Right. That's the way I see courage. Is like, you not, well, I'm kind of pregnant, child. No, you either pregnant or you ain't. Like, you ain't a little bit pregnant. Doesn't work that way. Anyway, empathetic courage is much the same thing, right? People who demonstrate courage to the extent that empathy is involved, right? When empathy is involved, then courage is introduced as a way to show empathy, right? Is a way to rescue a situation, rescue a person, help a person from the perspective of empathy, right? So empathetic courage, right? Again, that courage would suggest that you would only use it to the extent where someone needs assistance. And sometimes courage isn't always used from the perspective of helping other people. Sometimes when you operate in courage, while it may appear that you're helping other people, you're really helping yourself. All right. You really are. You're really, helping yourself. And let's just take a very basic swimming exercise. Many of us have been to pool parties all summer, been out at the pool all summer. And if you can't swim and you at the pool party and they say, hey girl, hey boy, jump in, right? You can't swim. Your jumping in is not going to help them. Well, take that back. It's going to help them because, in their eyes, you're going to jump in and you're going to have fun with them. It ain't going to help you. Right. And it's probably a poor example, but that's a poor example of kind of empathetic courage where, somebody might jump in the pool. They know they can't swim, but they're jumping in to help somebody else, to do something for somebody, to satisfy somebody else. And again, you jump in the pool, but if you can't swim, yeah, the same people you jumped in for are going to have to pull you out of there. Right. And so empathetic courage, I'm on the fence with as well. But she says these are the four types of everyday courage that most people use. And it made a lot of sense because if you look at it and look at some of the research attached to it, most people's courage fall within one of those categories. It's either a moral decision, an intellectual decision, an empathetic decision, or a discipline decision. In other words, I got courage, but up to a point. I ain't doing but so much. I will ATV ride. I'm not bungee jumping, right? I will swim. I'm not going deep dive, right? It's courage up to an extent, and she's right. Biblical courage, though, I want you to record this. Biblical courage is more commonly linked to strength. Okay, this is where we're going to turn the curve. Biblical courage, however, is more strongly connected to strength. So the Bible, when you read the Bible and you read verses that deal with biblical courage, you don't see a lot of verses talking about moral situations or situational types of courage. Yes, there are instances in the Bible where courage is utilized in situations, right? So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But courage isn't presented as a thing per se, all the way through the Bible in every case where, hey, you're in this situation or you're in this thing, use courage. You're in this thing, use courage. No. Courage is introduced biblically in most cases as a reflection or the use of strength. This is important. Strength does not always come before courage, but courage always brings strength. I'll say this again. This is simple and powerful. Strength does not always come before courage. I'm going to prove it. But courage always brings strength. Strength. Remember this, y'all. Strength does not always come before courage. Courage always brings strength. Doesn't matter what you're dealing with. Doesn't matter what situation you're in. Again, strength does not always come before courage, but courage will always bring you strength. Let me give you an example. Ever seen a scary movie, right? I hate scary movies, especially those scary movies when you're at home and you know what's about to happen. Everybody knows what's about to happen but sis. Sis, the only one in the movie that doesn't know what's about to happen. And you sit on your couch and you screaming at sis. Start running, sis. Don't go to the barn. Don't go to the empty barn. You running from Jason. Don't go to the empty barn that's out on this dark road and think you're going to hide in an empty barn running from Jason. Where do you think Jason going? He going to the empty barn, right? So I don't like scary because they just frustrate me. Like, I know the characters have to be intentionally stupid, but they frustrate me, right? But think horror movie, right? Think horror movie, and in a horror movie, somebody is stabbed in the movie, right? Somebody gets stabbed, and then this is a gruesome example, but just bear with me. Somebody is stabbed in a horror movie. When they're stabbed, all right, if they're stabbed and they fear death, a lot of times they're stabbed, but they fear death, but they want to live. What happens? The stabbing. God, I'm talking about stabbing on Bible study. The stabbing that they just took, if they want to live, inspires them to do what? It gives them the strength to keep fighting. It gives them the strength to keep fighting. So oftentimes they're running from Jason, they get stabbed, but they then make a decision. Oh, shoot, I'm stabbed. I've been running. I want to live now. And so courage doesn't come before they got stabbed. They got stabbed, and then they found the strength to keep fighting. And when they found the strength to fight, the strength produced the courage to fight. I don't know if this is making sense to y'all. Let me say it another way. They're running out of fear. They decide that they don't want to die. They get stabbed. They are hurt, but the stabbing gives them the strength not to keep running, nor does it position them to quit. The stabbing actually gives them the strength to find the courage to fight back. Right? Ever seen, I do like watching First 48. Every time I go to New Orleans, I think about First 48. Be looking at the roads like, yeah, somebody got shot over there. That's kind of crazy. But I like watching the First 48, I like watching those kind of crime investigative stories. And it always amazes me, those stories of people who may have been injured right before they died, may have been shot right before they died, stabbed right before they died or something. But the investigators can put it together and say, yep, they got, stabbed, but you can see here they were fighting. They got stabbed, but they were fighting back. They were trying to, that show is very addictive. And they were trying to fight back, and they can look at the room and they can tell how things were moved and blood smears and things. Yeah, this person was fighting back. They didn't just go down or let the person just kill them. They went down fighting. And that is what biblical courage is. I know it sounds so crazy. I'm comparing biblical courage to a stabbing and a shooting, but just listen to me. Biblical courage suggests that when it comes down to it, you may have to sometimes find strength before you find courage. Did y'all hear what I said? Sometimes you have to find strength before you find courage. And this is critically important, because if we think about it that way, if we think about it, sometimes I had to have strength before I have courage, then it makes a lot of sense, because oftentimes the things you need courage for, you actually really need strength first in order to find the courage to do it. This is making sense. Oftentimes there are things in your life you are faced with that really you need the strength to deal with first before you find the courage to address it, right? And because that would suggest in many ways, like the person on the horror movie that's running away from Jason, if you've been stabbed, you know, in your arm and you in a fight and you decide you want to live, you ain't gonna necessarily have the courage right there because somebody's got a knife in their hand, they're fighting you, you stab. Courage probably won't come first. You got to find the inner strength to fight back. When you find the inner strength to fight back, then you flip the switch from strength to courage. I don't know if this is making sense. I feel like I'm not explaining this well. Again, I should have took the nap before life study, but I'm starting to wake up a little bit. Does this make sense to anybody? All right. And so that's how biblically we see be strong and courageous. You see the phrase be strong and courageous in the Old Testament several times. It's not God telling Elijah or telling Moses or telling Joshua or telling any other leader, just be courageous. You don't see that, rarely. In the Old Testament, most times you see the phrase, be strong and courageous. That ain't accidental, because sometimes strength comes before courage. It takes strength to operate in courage. It takes the strength to do things you don't want to do. It takes the strength to address things you don't want to address. It takes the strength to make decisions you wouldn't normally make. Does this make sense? Right? So strength and courage, I ain't gonna call them first cousins, but they close. Strength and courage work hand in hand. They do, because there are opportunities or situations where oftentimes you just can't get it with courage, right? You just can't. But I'm here to tell you, instead of us looking for courage, and this is important, I want you to remember this. Instead of you looking for courage to overcome situations, sometimes your prayer ought to be, God, give me strength. I'm trying to help you. Sometimes the prayer is not, God, give me courage. Sometimes the prayer is, God, give me strength. I'm in this situation. I'm dealing with this predicament. My back is against the wall in this situation. I don't need the courage right now to try to get out of this, because I ain't quite there yet. I need the strength to be able to stand where I am, so that my strength then will turn to courage and I can get out of what I'm in. Or I can make a decision that makes my life better, right? And so oftentimes we're asking God for courage and we don't even have strength. And if you don't have strength, I don't care how much courage you got. Listen, if sis on the Jason movie gets stabbed 8 times in the chest, listen to me. I know this is so gruesome. Golly, I'm so sorry, y'all. If sis on Jason gets stabbed 8 times in the chest, she can have all the courage she wants to. But guess what? If she don't have no strength, if those stab wounds have worn her out, she is not going to fight back. What is she going to have left to fight with? I know that's a gruesome, horrible example. I'm going to be kicking myself for using that example. But it's a horrible example. But catch the revelation. You've been stabbed 8 times in the chest. I don't care how courageous you are. You ain't got no strength. There ain't going to be no fight back. And many of us, life has worn you out like that. You've been asking God, God, give me courage. God, give me courage. But you're tired. Yeah, God, give me courage to make this decision, do that. But you weak. You stressed out. And the prayer ought to be, God, give me strength. I want to take the courageous steps to move forward. I want to take the courageous steps to do something different. I want to take the courageous steps to come out of this situation, but give me the strength to keep walking, because spiritually, emotionally, my ego, my pride, whatever, I've been stabbed 8 times. See, when you've been in a situation where you've been stabbed 8 times and you need to find the courage to come out, I don't care how much willpower you have, until you get strength, there is no willpower. This is so good. Are y'all listening to me? Until you get strength, there is no courage. There is no courage without strength. And so part of being courageous is embracing strength. And it is embracing the strength to say that at moments where I don't have the ability to make decisions, make choices, do things of my own will or ability, I rely and lean on strength to find the strength necessary to then move from strength, getting strong enough to fight, to actually fighting, moving, reacting, responding, whatever, to get out of my situation. So courage is good, but I like the biblical approach to courage, because the biblical approach says, regardless of if it's moral, intellectual, disciplined, empathetic, whatever, the biblical approach to courage says, don't even worry about courage yet. Get some strength first. All right. We say it all the time. You say it in church. You sing the song, no joy, no what? Not courage. You say no joy, no strength. There's a reason why. Because instead of looking for courage to come out of situations, sometimes you got to find the strength just to stand up. Get the strength to stand up. When you get the strength to stand up, then you can find the courage to start fighting. That makes sense? Now, I hope this is blessing y'all. Y'all like this video. Share this video if you have not already. This is really good to me. Yeah, this is really good here. All right, so let me give you, and then I'm done. Let me give you 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage. All right, this is gonna bless you, and then I'm done. I got 9 minutes. How am I gonna do this in 9 minutes? 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage. All right, I want to give you 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage. Right, people again use the word courage, and a lot of times they really need to be using the word strength. People a lot of times are praying for courage. A lot of times they really need to be praying for strength, right? So I hope we laid a decent foundation where you can understand that, all right? So I want to give you 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage, all right? 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage. Number 1, the presence of courage means the absence of fear, okay? One common misunderstanding of courage is that the presence of courage means the absence of fear. It's not true. The presence of courage does not mean there is an absence of fear. Just because you have courage does not mean you don't possess uncertainty. Just because you don't have courage does not mean you don't necessarily possess fear. Right? Just because you have courage does not necessarily mean you're going to do some things and you won't have to do them afraid. Right? You see on memes sometimes, and it's a very powerful statement. I've seen on memes and different statuses before where people post things like, doesn't matter how you do it. If you got to do it afraid, do it anyway. That's courage, right? When you're doing something afraid, it doesn't mean you don't have courage, but it also suggests, and it should suggest to you, that there are some things that you will have to do in your life, overcome in your life, that you will have to do with fear, right? Now, I get it. I hear you. Pastor, that ain't what the Bible says. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but love, power, sound mind. I'm not talking about what God gave you. I'm talking about what it is. Because the reality is, if you go to the doctor tomorrow and he say you got stage 4 cancer, it is natural for you at that point to feel fear. That's natural. It is natural for you at that moment, in that moment, to feel fear. What if I don't make it? What if I don't survive? Look at what happened to everybody else who had this stage of cancer, right? That's natural. Right. So I'm saying to you that while that's natural, you can have that natural moment of fear and still operate and move forward in courage, which means, again, if you got to do it afraid, if you got to go to chemo, afraid, if you got to get therapy, afraid, whatever it is, you can do it afraid, and doing it afraid doesn't mean you don't have courage. So here's the larger point. Don't let people question your courage because you have fear. Hear me? Don't let people question your courage because of your occasional bouts with fear or your occasional bouts with uncertainty. I know from a personal perspective, there are things, endeavors I've gone after and things I've done, tried to do. And listen, I've done it. And God knows I did not always know what I was doing, how I was going to do it, how I was going to put together, how I was going to make it together. But that was not enough excuse for me to sit on the sideline. If I had to do it afraid and try to figure things out afraid, then I just had to do what I had to do afraid. Right. And so when we operate in courage, it doesn't mean that there is not fear there. Fear is there sometimes, especially when we're tackling big things. And that's all right. But don't let people question your courage because you're doing things, but there's a sense of fear. Now, I didn't say doubt. Fear, doubt, 2 totally different things, right? We all know what doubt is. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can handle this. I don't think I can overcome this, right? I'm not talking about doubt. I'm talking about fear, right? Man, I'm afraid this is a big deal. Like, this is a really big project. This is a really big business. This is a business in an industry in an area that has never existed before. And I'm doing it from scratch, right? Wow, this is huge. I'm talking about fear, not doubt. It is normal It is normal. Listen to me. It is normal to go against things that are bigger than you. And even if for a second, to have an ounce or a stench of fear come your way. That's okay, right? But I'm here to tell you that if you seek strength, when fear comes, strength will swallow fear and then eventually morph into courage and give you the ability to move forward. You see how that foundation really connected with that smoothly, right? So when you're up against things and fear is there, strength attacks fear, not courage per se. Not courage per se, but strength oftentimes is the thing that knocks fear down. As it knocks fear down, then that strength turns into courage. I'm beating this thing that I thought I could not beat. That strength turns into courage, and then you're able to overcome whatever it is that you're fearful of. So that's the process of how it works. But again, that's a common misunderstanding. I don't have any courage because I'm afraid. I don't have any courage because, I got uncertainty in this space. No, you're normal. You're normal. And again, the bigger the endeavor, the bigger the feat, there's a good chance it's going to be the greater the level of uncertainty. But you combat that not by looking for courage per se. You combat that by looking for strength. God, I'm in this situation. I got some fear and some uncertainty here. Give me the strength to face it. And then when he gives you the strength to face it, as you face it, you start to see, wait a minute, this ain't as bad as it is. And then that strength brings confidence, and that confidence encourages courage. And all of a sudden, you have no fear. That's how it works. How do I overcome things that I'm fearful of? Attack it with strength, not courage. Is this blessing anybody, making sense tonight? All right. So that's the first common misunderstanding regarding courage. Second common misunderstanding regarding courage is this: the lack of courage is normal. That the lack of courage is normal. Right? There's a common misunderstanding that if you don't have courage, that's a normal thing. And I want to share this with you. It's not. All of us were born with courage. I'm about to prove it. Before you had strength, you were born with courage. As you got older, then your courage, you became cautious with your courage, and then it required strength to then have courage. I'm going to say this again. This is so good to me. All of you, all of us were born with courage. I'm about to prove it. I'm going to give you a simple example to prove it. Every single one of us were born with courage. As we got older, that courage began to diminish. That courage began to diminish, and we began to become cautious with our courage, and we began to rely more on our strength. And if we didn't have the strength, we wouldn't even approach situations, not realizing that we were born with courage, and sometimes you just need to show up with strength. I'm gonna prove it. Ever seen a newborn? Ever seen a newborn that was crawling? Think about it. You are all of us were newborns before. Take a newborn that crawls all over the floor. When that newborn starts crawling on the floor, what happens when you put he or she down on the floor? What do? They take off. They take off. Reckless abandon. They crawl everywhere. They crawl under seats. They crawl in hallways. They'll crawl out the door. They'll crawl near electrical sockets. They'll crawl up. They'll try to crawl up steps. Now they can barely stand up. They'll try to crawl up steps, right? And then what happens? Eventually they get the strength to stand, and then they start walking, right? And they're stumbling at first, and then they start walking. And then as they're walking, what do? They go back to those steps, and here they are, this tall, trying to climb steps. Zero fear. Watch. Zero fear and zero strength. Because a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old don't have the strength to climb those steps. They ain't got but one thing that makes them feel like they can climb the steps. What is it? It's courage. Is this making sense to anybody? They don't have the strength. A 2-year-old don't have the strength to climb steps. A 2-year-old just sees steps and sees you doing it. Sees you going up and down the steps. Sees you plugging things in and out of a socket. Y'all want to hear a funny story? I asked my parents about me taking my dad's keys one day and putting them in the socket when I was younger, learning how to walk, thinking I was driving a car. And thank God that thing didn't go off, or I wouldn't have been here. Right? But did I know any better? No. 2, 3. I didn't know. Look, I saw him put the keys in the switch. I tried to put the keys in the socket, thinking I was going to drive the wall. And had it gone all the way in there, I would have been driven all right. But what did I have at that age? I didn't have strength. I had courage. We're all born with it. What happens? You're walking 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, 8 years old, 9 years. You're walking. Now you're running. Now you can move. You can go everywhere you want to go. But what happens? As you get older and become more aware of danger around you, your courage shrinks and you begin to rely on your strength. Your courage shrinks and you begin to rely on your strength. Can I help y'all? Let me ask you a question. What if in your adult life, you use the same amount of courage you had as a 2-year-old trying to walk up the steps? What if you use that same courage to start your business? What if you use that same courage a 2-year-old has walking up the steps to leave a bad relationship? Y'all quiet. What if you use the same courage that a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old who's just barely crawling and trying to crawl into it? What if you use that same courage as an adult that a 1 and 2-year-old has, crawling and walking in spaces they have no business? What if you use that same courage to go back to school and finish your degree? Y'all not listening to me. See, when we get older, our courage shrinks. And we think that it's normal for us to not have courage, when I'm here to tell you, you're born with it. Is this making sense to anybody tonight? Yeah, talking to you, you're born with courage. And so your job is not to get older and just rely on your strength. But sometimes and this really hit me the last couple of weeks, doing some journaling, meditating, and thought about this. Wow. Sometimes it takes childlike courage to get through situations because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know what's going to happen if you try to climb some steps. If a 1, 2-year-old is just learning how to walk, try to climb steps, and they don't have no balance, what they're going to do? They're going to fall backwards and come down the steps. But their courage drives them forward. And their courage is greater than the fear that's behind them. And their courage is greater than the circumstances of what they're doing. And their courage is greater than what could happen. You got to live your life that way. You got to live your life that way. And see, when we get older, we get tunnel vision. We can only see external conditions, and we don't rely on the courage that we have and the strength that God's given us and combine that strength with the courage, right? With most of us, it's one or the other. Either we're going to use strength or we're going to use courage. And I'm here to tell you, you got to have childlike courage when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to making moves, right? Some of you have this avoidance issue where you don't even want to make a decision, right? And I'm here to tell you, your inability to make a decision is a form of avoidance. And when you can't make a decision, that's also dysfunctional. I ain't got time to go psychological on y'all tonight, but listen to what I'm saying. The inability to make a decision is a form of avoidance, and avoidance can create dysfunction. What you avoid can create dysfunction in your life. And some of you are full-fledged adults, been avoiding stuff, topics, hurt, pain, things that happened to you 15 years ago. You've been avoiding it, and now it's hitting you like a sack of bricks. And what you don't realize is your lack of courage to address it 10 years ago has now created some momentum. And here you are 10, 15 years later, you're ready to address it. But now what was or seemed to just be a small issue in the beginning has morphed into something large. Why? Because you avoided it. And your inability to make a decision, your inability to address it, the avoidance that you put on the issue has now created dysfunction in your life. Y'all don't want none of me tonight. Is this making sense? Is this making sense to anybody? Right? Which is why, be careful. We're talking about being courageous. Be careful when you find yourself in those positions where you don't want to make a decision, right? I know my game is off when I just waver back and forth, waver back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. No, most of the time, being courageous and walking in courage makes you decisive. When I'm in esteem and I'm who I'm supposed to be, I'm decisive. It's clear. Doesn't mean I necessarily make a decision at the drop of a hat. I still think things through, but I'm clear. I'm decisive. When you find yourself wavering back and forth, wavering back and forth, it's taking you 2 weeks to figure out where you want to go out to eat. Like it's taking you 2 weeks to decide that, you need to check yourself. You check that, because the inability to make a decision, your inability to make a decision and avoiding decisions can lead to dysfunction in your life. And you got to find the courage, the same courage that a 1-2-year-old has to walk up steps when they just started walking. You got to find that same courage to make a decision and say, I'm going to walk up these steps in my life. And if I fall backwards, well, I ain't going to even really think about it if I fall. Think about it, y'all. I just had to correct myself. Does a 1 or 2-year-old think when they're walking up the steps, I might fall backwards? Now, I don't know what's in their mind. I mean, I've been 1 or 2 a very long time ago. I don't know what's in their mind, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a 1 or 2-year-old, when they're climbing up the steps, don't be thinking, I might fall down these steps, but I'm going to try this anyway. No. 1, 2-year-old walks up them steps and they looking at the top. And if you behind them or saying something, they might see it and they might try to look back at you and be laughing and smiling. Now, that's dangerous. You know why? God, this is a whole word. When that 1 or 2-year-old start paying attention to what's behind them, what's more likely to happen? I feel like getting up out of my seat and running around my house. Did y'all hear what I said? When the 1 or 2-year-old that's trying to walk up the steps is using courage to try to walk up the steps, when they look behind them, what happens? They're going to lose balance. When they lose balance, it's a good chance they're going to fall backwards. And there's a revelation in that. And that is, if you're going to use courage to walk forward, the best thing you can do is keep looking forward. Because when you start looking backwards, you're going to lose your spiritual balance. You're going to lose your emotional balance, which means find the strength to make a decision. Stop avoiding decisions and stop operating in avoidance, because that leads to dysfunction. Find the strength to make a decision. And when you do, look up the steps. Don't look behind them. Y'all not listening. Y'all don't want this word tonight. 3 common misunderstandings regarding courage. Here's the 3rd common misunderstanding. Does this make sense at all? Does this make sense? So we've got to really think about this when we're operating in courage. No, the lack of courage is not normal. You were born with courage. You were born with it. But your awareness has taken you out of the space where you operate in courage. And the more, sometimes, this is so crazy, but awareness with courage almost works like awareness with faith. I ain't got time to deal with this. Man, I wish if I took 15 more minutes, y'all would talk about me like a dog. Awareness with courage almost acts like awareness with faith, meaning the more you are aware of danger when it comes to courage, the less likely you are to use it. Because unlike the 1 or 2-year-old walking up the steps, you're going to be more focused on if I'm a fall versus the rewards of keeping moving forward. Faith is the same way. People are less likely to use faith when they are more aware of the circumstances. I would believe God to help me go back to school and finish a degree, but I got a family now. But I work 2 jobs already, but I can't afford it. And your focus on the buts and the circumstances keep you from operating in faith. It's the same concept with courage. Many of us struggled moving in courage because we were focused on the circumstances. And you cannot focus on the circumstances when you have courage. You got to have 1 to 2-year-old courage with grown man, grown woman strength. Be strong, grown man, grown woman, and courageous 1, 2-year-old. If you combine the courage of a 1, 2-year-old with the strength of an adult, it's unstoppable. Pastor, how you make these moves and make these changes that you make in your life and these things that you go after in your life? And these say, let me tell you how I do it. I'm going to tell you how I do it. I do it with grown man strength. I do it with 1 to 2-year-old courage. People be looking at me like, you stupid. Like you really about to fall over these steps. Just like we look at a 1, 2-year-old. It's okay. You stupid. You really about to fall backwards and come down these steps. Like, do you know what you're doing? Probably not. I know where I'm going. And I'm here to tell you, it's more important that you know where you're going than you know what you're doing. I quit. I got to write that down. Did you hear what the old man said? It is more important that you know where you're going than you know what you're doing. Hey, no, I'm just giving myself nuggets. Are y'all listening to me? Stop asking God, show me what I'm doing, God. No, know where you're going. Know where you're going. No, the Bible even challenges us, doesn't challenge us to know what we're doing. It challenges us to know where we're going. It does. You have to focus on knowing what you're doing. Does that make sense to anybody at all? It's more important. I'm sorry, you got to focus on knowing where you're going. It's more important that you know where you're going. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not to your own understanding. When you lean to your understanding, you're leaning on, I don't know what I'm doing. That's leaning on your own. Trust in where you're going. Does that make sense? All right. Here's the third common misunderstanding. I've run over 11 minutes. I'm sorry. Here's the third common misunderstanding regarding courage, and it's this. It is that our courage has to build in order to be motivated to move. All right. A third common misunderstanding about courage is that our courage has to build in order to be motivated to move. It is a common misunderstanding about courage that our courage has to build in order to be motivated to move. It's not true. This mentality waits on the perfect situation. This mentality waits on the perfect circumstance. It says that if the stars align right, if the situation is perfect, I'll use courage. If, I'll use courage if you go ahead and give me a Pell Grant to go back to school, right? If you give me a Pell Grant to go back to school, to pay for school, I'll use courage to go back, take the classes and manage my family, do all that stuff. That's situational courage, right? And, Dr. Kathy Lassiter's, one of her courages kind of deals with that, which is why I don't really agree with that. Why? Because the stars don't always align when it comes to you using courage. In fact, more times than not, the opposite is true. Things will not be in alignment, and you got to do it till it lines up. There are some things you're going to move in courage with that you have to do it until things line up. You're not going to be able to do it perfect with perfect circumstances, with perfect situations from the beginning. No, there's some things you're going to have to do before it gets perfect, before it gets aligned, and you're going to have to do it anyway before the alignment comes, and then just trust and have the faith that things are going to line up, right? And this happens more often than not, right? More often than not, I want you to remember, this is the last nugget I'm giving you. I've run way over tonight. More often than not, don't ever forget this. More often than not in your life, when it comes to your life and the things you need courage for, don't you dare forget this. More often than not, what motivates you is less than ideal. I want you to remember this. The things that are going to motivate you to keep going are going to be less than ideal, which means it ain't going to be perfect circumstances. I'm going to be motivated to pay my bills because I got a lot of money. That's perfect circumstances. I'm going to be motivated to go back to school because I got time. That's perfect circumstances. I'm going to be motivated. I'm going to be motivated to finish my degree because, I've been laid off and I got a settlement and I ain't got to work for the next 2 years. That's perfect circumstances. 8 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10 doesn't work that way. More often than not, what motivates you is going to be stuff that's less than ideal. Pastor, what do you mean things less than ideal? Pain. One real way to find courage? Get some pain. Get stabbed 8 times. Remember, I'm not saying get stabbed for real. Y'all get my point. If you listening, tune in. If you're catching the replay, just rewind it to the beginning. I gave the Jason example. If you get stabbed 8 times, pain, if you want to live, will motivate you to find courage. So again, most of the time, the things that motivate you to find courage are things that are less than ideal, like pain or frustration. Can I help some of y'all? I know, Pat. No, I don't know, Elder. It ain't no gruesome stuff. I promise you, I ain't got no gruesome stuff on my mind. I took a nap before life study, and it was a good nap. I don't remember what I dreamed about. I was only 20 minutes, but I don't know. Like the stabbing thing, this stabbing example just making a lot of sense. Pray for me, Elder. Pain motivates, frustration motivates you, loss motivates. Can I help some of y'all? Some of you ain't gonna make no life changes until you lose enough. Let me just go ahead and log off this thing because y'all don't want this. Some of you will not make life changes until you lose enough, until you get frustrated enough, until you've gone through enough pain, until you've gone through enough hurt. Some of you ain't made no changes because you ain't hurt enough. You know, the old folks used to give, the old saints, God bless them, their souls, my grandmother's grandfathers, yours, your grandmother's grandfather's aunts, older saints have gone on, didn't have a lot of it, didn't have as much education as us, didn't work jobs that we work, didn't make livings that we make. But they had some wisdom that would just wear you out. And I remember my grandmother, late grandmother, Mother Tally, when she was alive, you know, she and I would have just some of the darnest conversations after church, sitting over in the corner. She had a chair that my dad put in. We would have some of the darndest conversations. And grandma, man, would say stuff. We'd be talking about stuff and talking about people in their situations. And I look at grandma and be like, grandma, she's stupid for staying there because he's going upside her head. And then grandma will look at me and say, she ain't going nowhere. And I'd be like, grandma, why you say that? I mean, you mother of the church, you would think the mother of the church be like, well, go on and pray for her, baby. Things gonna get better. The mother of the church looked at me and said, she ain't going nowhere. I said, grandma, why you say that? She said, because she ain't tired yet. Did y'all hear what I said? She said, she ain't tired yet. When she gets tired, she'll leave. I feel like run. Did y'all hear what I say? See, sometimes we think courage motivates us to move. Sometimes adversity motivates you to move. Some of y'all ain't moved and made decisions because you ain't tired yet. Some of you are stuck in positions, stuck in circumstances, stuck in predicaments, stuck in stuff that you had no business being stuck in. Why? Because you're not tired. And I'm here to tell you, this ain't prophetic, this fact. You ain't going nowhere until you get tired. You ain't going nowhere until the pain gets unbearable. You're not going nowhere until you get more frustrated. Because I'm here to tell you, there are some situations that are so near, so dear to your heart, to your emotions, to your heartstrings, all of that stuff, that all the courage in the world ain't going to make you get out. You got to hurt more. You got to get more pain. I hate to pull a 5 heartbeats reference, but I just need to take a shower, go to bed. That's what I'm gonna do. Because I'm just, these analogies tonight, I'm out there. I hate to use a 5 heartbeats on you, but let's go 5 heartbeats. When Duck finds out that JT is smashing his girl, Duck finds out that JT smashing his girl, and he's at the awards thing, and he says, hey, you know, somebody told me one day, Duck, you're gonna be a great writer when you have pain. He was right. He was right, because I'm here to tell you, courage is great. You can accomplish a lot with courage. I've done a lot with courage. I've written books. I've accomplished a lot with courage. But let me tell you something. There's a different level of accomplishment when pain is the motivation. When pain is the motivation, and you don't want to lose. Sometimes you literally have to hit the proverbial rock bottom and be in pain and frustration to be motivated to do something different. And that's why people don't leave abusive relationships. Y'all don't like this. They don't leave abusive relationships, not because they like being hit upside the head. It's because they ain't tired yet. My grandma, with her 8th grade education, sat right in that corner and used to drop nuggets. Nah, she ain't going nowhere there, boy. She called me boy. Boy, she ain't going nowhere because she not tired. And what she was saying is, you can motivate folk all you want to and try to give people courage all you want to and tell people they got the abilities. And this is one of the things that frustrates me about people, because I know what it's like. I've been in positions where I've motivated people to be like, look, you got what it takes to do this. And you got what it takes to do this. You got what it takes to have this. And you got what it takes to get this degree. You got what it takes to start this business. You got what it takes to be in this relationship. You got what it takes to have this and that. But let me tell you something. You can try to give people courage all day. Until they get tired, they ain't going to do nothing. Until they get fed up with their circumstance, they're not going to do nothing. Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, until they get frustrated enough, till they go through enough pain, till they get tired of being tired. You know, we hear that sick and tired of being sick and tired afraid. Until they get there, a lot of folk ain't going to do nothing. For some people, for some of us, courage is enough. We can lean on courage to move forward. I've grown and I'm matured now. I don't need a whole lot of pain to make decisions now. You know, I can use courage and strength. right? But I've even been in positions before in my past where the pain just wasn't hard enough yet for me to move. And see, it takes honesty to admit that, especially after the fact. And some of you have not moved because the pain ain't got hard. So I'm here to tell you, one of the greatest mischaracterizations of courage or misunderstandings of courage is that courage has to build in order to be motivated to move. No, pain has to build. Sometimes frustration has to build. Sometimes loss has to build. Sometimes you ain't lost enough to start the business. You ain't lost enough to get a new set of friends. You ain't been talked about enough to drop off the old set and get you a new set. Y'all not listening to me. And so that's not always true. So the overarching thing is simple. Be courageous, but be strong and courageous, right? Does that make sense? Be courageous, but be strong and be courageous. Because when you're strong, sometimes strong or strength has to come before courage in order for you to make a move. I'm done. This bless anybody tonight? I told y'all gonna get enough of skipping life study. This bless anybody tonight? This was powerful. I need you to go back and watch this replay tonight. Go back and watch this replay. We can ready to pray. I'm going to pray over your prayer requests. Go and start typing them in real quick because I'm way over. I got to hurry up. I got me and the kids got to get showers, and then we like to watch Love Island. Judge your mama. Me and the kids be watching Love Island, 9 o'clock Eastern time on CBS. Judge your mama. And so my kids are waiting on me. They ready to watch Love Island. We're going to watch Love Island and eat cheesecake. So I got to hurry up. But if you and that's my daddy's fault because my daddy watches Love Island. He got us watching it. Y'all, my daddy's wild. Anyway, you got a prayer request. I told y'all stop skipping Bible study, man. Bible study is powerful. Go back and watch this video and replay it. I'm telling you, don't dare forget those 3 misunderstandings regarding courage because many of us got it wrong. We think that courage means no fear. Love you too, man. Good to see you always. We think courage means no fear. We think courage or not having courage is normal when you were born with it. We think courage has to build in order for us to move. Not true. No, sometimes pain gonna motivate you to move. Sometimes getting hit upside your head a couple of times gonna motivate you to move, right? So the bigger overarching theme again is that we got to find strength and move synonymously. Let our courage move synonymously or synchronously. That's the word I want with our strength. All right. Listen, you got prayer requests, type it in quickly. Hurry, y'all. Quickly. I got to hurry. I got to do this in 120 seconds, y'all. Hurry up. Type in your prayer request. You got a prayer request. I want you to type it in the comments now. I'm praying for you. I'm up every morning, 4:15. I'm praying for you. This morning, I got up at 4:15. I was so tired, but I got up this morning and I thought about you all. I prayed for myself. I prayed for you. And I'm telling you, I've been praying for you every single day. I'm going to continue to do that. And that's good, Brother Eric. I'm praying for you, my man. If you got a prayer request, I want you to put it in the comments right now because I want you to know I'm going to be praying for you all week long, lifting up your prayer requests. If you've got something you can't type in the comments, email it to me. You can email it at info@rehabcc.org. Email it to info@rehabcc.org. Subject line prayer requests. Send that to me. I want to pray for you. I want to pray with you. I want to believe God with you that he answers your prayers. I believe he's going to do it. And I just need you to make it happen. All right, V, I see you. Interview tomorrow. Let's make it happen. You're going to do well. And I'm excited about that. Come on, y'all. Put in your prayer. 3rd round. Yeah, you better get that job. You better not get back on this call without getting that job. You better have that job. We believe in God for you, and I know it's going to work. Pray for my daughter, boyfriend, Andre Womack, and the Weathers family. Absolutely that. Thank you so much, Ms. Weathers. You tune in every week. I see your name there, and I really appreciate that. Brother Phil, pray for my health and strength. It is so. It is absolutely done. Come on, y'all. Any more prayer requests? I got 10 seconds. Really quickly. Any more prayer requests? Really quickly. We've got to touch and agree. We're going to sow a seed. We're going to get off the line. If you've got a prayer request, I want you to type it quickly. If not, make sure you email it to info@rehabcc.org. Connect your hands like this as a sign, symbol of faith. Let's pray. Father, in Jesus' name, thank you tonight for your word. Thank you for reminding us of the essential elements of courage, how we must walk in strength with courage to be everything that you've called us to be, to have everything that you designed for us to have everything that we desire to have and more, God. Help us, God, not just to be courageous, but to be strong and courageous. Help us to understand that we're not going to always do it without fear. Help us to understand that our courage won't always grow normally, won't always be the motivating factor behind us doing the things we do. That sometimes, God, courage comes later, but give us the strength, God. Give us the strength to move forward, to press forward, to think forward, to operate forward until courage catches up with our spirit, catches up and causes us to be everything that we can be and more. I thank you, God, for every prayer request that's come across this line. We lift it up to you now. And God, we ask that you would answer the prayers of your people right now like you never had before. Meet the needs of your people, the health needs, the family needs, the job needs, the career needs, the mental needs, the emotional needs of your people, the spiritual needs of your people. God, we lift these needs up to you because we know you are a prayer answering God, a way maker, you're a miracle worker, you're a promise keeper, you're the light at the end of a tunnel of darkness. And God, tonight we trust you to answer these prayers, and not only answer the prayers, but to do exceeding and abundantly above all that we can ask or think. We thank you for these things. We count them done in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen, type in the comments quickly. It is so. It is so. It is so. It is so. Oh, wow. I'm praying for sister-in-law Elder. I just saw this as I opened my eyes. Certainly praying for that. And those of you that are battling COVID, that have family members that are battling COVID. I met somebody the other day that had to battle the variant virus, and they were vaccinated. I'm praying for all of you that are dealing with that and really just dealing with this virus and everything that's happening around us. It is so. Come on, y'all. Type it in the comments now. It is so. It is so. It is so. If you touch and agree with me, I want you to type in the comments now. It is so. It is so. We're believing God to do it. Listen, y'all, let's give really quickly. I got 30 seconds to do this. I want you to sow a seed tonight. If this message bless you, I want you to sow a seed tonight. Don't forget, we turn 8 years old tomorrow, and we're going to sow a $51 seed Sunday. I want 100 people to make up in their mind now. They're going to make a sacrifice and sow a $51 seed Sunday. We turn 8 years old. Our church turns 8 on tomorrow. This is the second birthday we've had to celebrate in a pandemic. So crazy, right? But we turn 8 tomorrow, and we're going to sow a $51 seed Sunday. But tonight, if this message blessed you, I want you to give tonight. I want you to give. I want to challenge you to give. You should see our ways of giving on the screen, but you can give via Cash App, $ REHABCCGIVE. You can give on our website, www.rehabcc.org. That's www.rehabcc.org, and choose online giving. You can give through your cell phone. Text REHABWORKS to 88202. Text REHABWORKS, one word, 2 words, one as one word, no spaces. REHABWORKS to 88202. And right to your cell phone, you'll see the prompt, follow the prompt. You can give that way. Again, Cash App, $ REHABCCGIVE. Website, www.rehabcc.org. Cell phone, text REHABWORKS to 88202. And you can give either one of those 3 ways, and God is going to bless you tonight. If this word blessed you, if this ministry has been a blessing to you, but especially tonight, if it blessed you, I want to challenge you to give tonight. Sow a seed. You praying, we're believing God to do miraculous things for us. And sometimes, frankly, the only thing that's missing is a seed. You got a desire, but you haven't sown a seed. I want to challenge you to sow a seed tonight. And if you do that, I know God's going to bless you. How? Good measure, pressed down, shaking together, running over. He's going to send people into your life to be a blessing to you because of how you've given. Listen, y'all, I love y'all. I'm praying for y'all. I'm rooting for y'all. Pastor's way over. He went 20 minutes over tonight. I am so sorry, but what a powerful word. Do me a favor with y'all. Make sure you like this video. If you have not liked this video, make sure you like this video. Make sure you tag somebody in this video. Tell them to go back. It's about an hour long. They can watch it while they're walking in the morning, exercising. Tell them to put their buds in. This was a powerful message on courage, and somebody needs to hear it. And I want to challenge you to challenge somebody. Share this word with somebody and watch them get blessed as a result of you just sharing the word with them. All right. And then do me a favor. Make plans to meet us Sunday. We will be 8 years old on Sunday. Make plans to meet us at 9:08 a.m. for another powerful word. Can't wait to share with you. May have a surprise for you on Sunday. And so I can't wait to see you there. All right. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. I'm rooting for you. I want you to have a phenomenal week, a blessed week, a safe week. Wear your mask. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Keep your distance. Keep people out of your space and face. And be very careful. And if nothing fails, we'll make plans to see you this Sunday at 9:08 a.m. sharp. All right. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. Peace and blessings.
For watching the Rehab Christian Center live experience. If this broadcast has been a blessing to you and you would like to be a blessing to our leader, Dr. Zeb Talley III, you can sow a seed into his ministry by Cash App at $Pastor ZT3. It is our prayer that this message of hope encourage, enlighten, and empower you to be better. Please tune in Sunday at 9:08 a.m. for our Sunday morning experience. And as always, be blessed and have a